you can start working towards Acts chapter 2. Acts chapter 2 is where we'll start. If you think about some of the greatest inventions in history, it'd be interesting if we took like a survey. What do you think is the greatest invention of all time? I'm sure there would be some differences of opinion, maybe some agreement. But I mean, you like the wheel. Wouldn't we be in big trouble without the wheel? Imagine if everything else were the same, but no wheels. You would still not be to church yet. It'd take longer, except for the Knezeviches. They would be here about the same. Obviously, sliced bread. That was a pretty important invention. I am a big fan of sandwiches. I like a good sandwich. Some people say that's the greatest thing since sliced bread, because sliced bread was an amazing invention. Okay, you don't agree with me on that. I like sliced bread. I'm thankful for... I've never studied the history of this invention. I'm thankful for the invention of the pillow. I mean, really. Poor Jacob, right? In the Bible, he had a stone for a pillow. I really thought they were smarter than that back then. That just sounds like, talk about a crook in the neck when you wake up. Anyways, these basic inventions, now you're all rubbing your necks, you need a new pillow. These basic inventions we're happy about, thankful for. They fill us up, or they make our life easier, or they maybe make it more comfortable. But God has a greater invention. God doesn't invent things. He knows all things from the beginning. It's not like he got a eureka moment one time. But for sake of illustration, God invented something better than the wheel, sliced bread, and pillows all put together, which would probably make a big mess if you put them together. Anyways, but God's invention is what we are calling in Scripture and seeing today the minister. The minister is an invention. It's an idea. It's the plan of God to make our work easier, to help us with our practical needs, to fill us up, to encourage us, to satisfy us, to take up space in the void places, and something that will comfort us and be a soft place when we need some rest and some relief. The minister is what all of us are supposed to be. The minister is not some denominational reference to the pastor. Oh, you're a minister. You get clergy parking at the hospital. Whoop, woo, No, minister in the Bible just means servant. And it's not just a few people in the church. It's all people in the church. We've been talking for some time now about laboring together with God and laboring together with each other. Part of laboring together with each other is ministering to each other. As I minister to you, you minister to you, you minister to me. As we minister to each other, we are better equipped, the Bible teaches, to be able to do the work of the ministry. And then we labor together. We minister together. So there's ministering to each other, and there's ministering with each other. It's the idea of, maybe you have a team sport that you're involved in, like, I don't know, badminton or soccer or whatever. And you meet and you practice together. And you drill on each other, and you help each other, and you encourage each other, and say, that was good. Okay, now this would be better. And you build each other up. You make each other better athletes. And so while you're rehearsing, you kind of push each other, and you praise each other, both. And then when practice is done, you go to game day, and now you lock arms, and you charge together. So you've ministered to each other, and now you minister with each other. The Bible teaches both. We are, as laborers together, supposed to minister to each other. You should be serving or encouraging or helping or building up the people around you. And then, once we're all built up by each other, we're better fit for doing God's work and sharing the gospel with those who have not yet heard it. If you're in Acts, we're going to be in chapter 2. We saw the last couple of weeks that laboring to minister to each other means, first of all, loving each other. That's got to be at the bottom of it all. If you don't love someone, you're not going to minister to them very well. And then we saw that laboring together means ministering to each other by means of prayer. Praying for one another. And we ended the service last week praying together. And I was so encouraged to hear you all laboring together in prayer. This morning, I'd like us to consider just helping with practical needs. Helping with practical needs. It doesn't sound very theological, does it? But it's all over Scripture, and we'll see that starting in Acts chapter 2. Verse 44, Acts 2:44. It's at the end of the chapter. We've had Pentecost. We've had thousands added to the church. They believe, they're baptized, they're added to the church, and they continue in the apostles' doctrine and fellowship, breaking bread and prayers. And then verse 44, it says, "And all that believed were together and had all things common, and sold their possessions and goods, and parted them to all men, as every man had need." These early Christians, some of them realized, I have more than I need, and they don't have enough. Why should I have excess while they have a lack? Why should I be rich when they're poor? Let me divest myself of this extra that is superfluous, it's unnecessary, it's gravy. Let me get rid of my gravy so that they can have a piece of meat, the basic need to be satisfied. And so they voluntarily did this. It wasn't, government-forced communism. It wasn't some kind of a New Age utopia. It was just people realizing, look, I could be a blessing. I could help with a practical need. These people over here don't have enough to eat. Remember, this first century economy was not like ours. This was hand-to-mouth subsistence for everybody, or the vast majority of people. And so those who had a little land or who had a little extra were willing to give up what they had to meet the practical needs of others. There's a very similar description in 2 Corinthians chapter 8, but it's believers helping believers transcontinentally. In the country of what we now call Greece, they took up love offerings to help the Christians in the Middle East in Israel. And it says specifically that it was to fill this kind of idea that they which had extra didn't have extra, and those who had a lack didn't have a lack. It was by means of equality to take and share with others what they needed. Turn to then Mark chapter 10. Jesus is always our greatest example. And he ministered to others by helping with practical needs. He was a servant. You know that in the upper room, he washed the disciples' feet. He did that practical thing for them. You know that he helped provide food for people that didn't have food on multiple occasions. People that were sick, he provided for their practical health needs. Look how he expressed it. In Mark chapter 10, some of the disciples had been arguing about who was the greatest. And, James and John are like, hey, Jesus, can we be, Vice President 1 and Vice President 2 in your kingdom? And the other disciples heard about it, and they're frustrated. Now everybody's bickering about who's the greatest. And Jesus says, no, stop. You want to know who's the greatest? Let me teach you about what it looks like to be great in my kingdom, in my economy, in my philosophy. And so he says, Mark chapter 10, verse 42, Jesus called them to him and saith unto them, ye know that they which are accounted to rule over Gentiles exercise lordship over them. You ever had somebody exercise lordship over you? Do it because I say so kind of thing. Or, no, I don't have to. They're just kind of relishing in that position and using it as a stick to beat you with. He says that's typical among the pagans. They exercise lordship over them, and their great ones exercise authority upon them. But so shall it not be among you, Christians. But whosoever will be great among you, significant, important, of standing, shall be your minister. There it is. We're all ministers. The word minister just means servant. Whosoever will be great among you shall be your minister. Verse 44, and whosoever will be chiefest shall be servant of all. For even the Son of Man came not to be ministered unto, but to minister, and to give his life a ransom for many. That was expensive ministering, wasn't it? It was high-cost serving. And he was of all rank, the Son of God. And yet he came to serve, not to be served. Keep in mind, too, when Jesus said this to these people, they really understood what servants were. I still have not been able to get out of my mind this Western or maybe even British Empire mentality of servant. I always picture a butler with a silver tray. Your tea, sir. Do you think that's what he meant? I don't think that's what he meant. It was like slave, right? And I think that in that economy, some of the slaves were treated not too awful bad, but they were still slaves. They had no rights. They had to do what they were told, including a lot of very menial tasks. And that's just what they did. And that very vivid picture in their mind is what Jesus used to say, that's what you all need to be. Now, I mean, some of the disciples were business owners. They were entrepreneurs. They were fishermen. Levi was a tax collector, okay? So he was a financial guru, a government official, if you will, making bank. So they knew what these positions were, but Jesus said, be a servant, be a slave. That's what it is to be significant in my kingdom. Because that's what I'm doing. I'm here to meet practical needs. And so it's wonderful then, throughout the New Testament, we see God holding up these stories of people that did this. Like, hey, this is what you're supposed to be doing. In case you wonder what Mark chapter 10 is about, here's a picture of it. And one of my favorites is in Acts chapter 9. So I know we're turning a lot today, but it's good for us. Acts chapter 9, keep those fingers limb. We're going to get some good exercise here. Limber fingers, Acts chapter 9, verse 36. Early in the church's history, Peter has been going to different places and sharing the gospel, and he ends up healing a man by the name of Aeneas in a place called Lydda, I believe. And while he's there, the people in the next town over know that he's there. Like, did you know that Peter's just in the next? It'd be like, not exact geography, but we're here and we know that somebody's coming to Lowell or someone's going to be, at the Hammond Civic Center or something like that. It's a neighboring town. Okay, and so verse 36. Now there was at Joppa a certain disciple named Tabitha, which by interpretation is called Dorcas. It's like a gazelle. It's a beautiful name. This woman was full of good works and alms deeds, which she did. She was personified by them. She was maxed out by them. It described her. She was full of them. They took up all of her time and energy. Good works, that's doing good things. Alms deeds, that's like helping the poor. She was full of those things. And it came to pass in those days that she was sick and died, whom, when they had washed, they laid her in an upper chamber. That was the burial custom of the day. And for as much as Lydda was nigh to Joppa, where Tabitha died, and the disciples had heard that Peter was there, they sent unto him 2 men, desiring him that he would not delay to come to them. So messengers went from Joppa to Lydda to get Peter to come to be with them in their time of sadness. Then Peter arose and went with them. When he was come, I love this verse. Please turn on your imaginations. Watch this verse as I read it. When he was come, they brought him into the upper chamber, and all the widows stood by him, weeping, and showing the coats and the garments which Dorcas made while she was with them. Death is almost always sad. But here's a room full of widows. Poor people. Saying, look what Tabitha made for me. Oh yeah, you should see the one she made for me. I remember when she gave this to me. I didn't know how I was going to keep warm. I had been hoping for something, and there she was, and it's the most, and my favorite colors too. That Dorcas was something else. I'm going to miss her. What am I going to do when this wears out? Who's going to make clothes for me? Who's going to give me my next blanket? They were broken up about the loss of this woman. And I'm just going to go ahead and ask, what if it were your funeral? Would anybody be able to stand with a blanket and say, look what they did for me? Let alone a room full. Let alone a room full of widows. Not your buddies, your pals, your friends, people that are just like you, live in the same plateau and enjoy the same stuff, and you hang out, and yeah, you help them and they help you. No. These are the poorest, the widows. They could give nothing back. And there was a room full of them that like, yeah, that Tabitha, she did so much for me. I miss her. What if it were your funeral? Who you made a blanket for recently? Ministering to each other means helping with practical needs, and Tabitha did that. I'll leave you hanging on the cliff, and you can read the rest of Acts 9 on your own time to see what happens in that upper room. But I have to say, this is a message where I do want to encourage you as a church. I think a lot of you are doing a great job at this. For just a couple minutes, I sat at my computer and I started writing down things that I knew that members had done for other members, friends had done for other friends in the church. Here's my list. Making blankets and Afghans was first on my list. You can guess why. Mowing lawns for others and doing yard work for others. I know of at least 3 people who were physically hampered this summer, and other people in the church took care of their lawns for them. That's awesome. I think I wouldn't be surprised there's more. Taking meals to people when they're sick or when they're discouraged or been in the hospital. Providing lunch and meals after funerals. My family benefited from that. Providing musical instruments for people that couldn't afford them on their own, or maybe even giving them lessons. Money in the mailbox, or one of those cash handshakes. A gift card, not big enough to change your life, just big enough to encourage you. You know, the $5 Starbucks card is a classic. Benevolence checks. In case you don't know how this works, out of the offerings that you all give, the deacons look for opportunities to help church members in need. And whether it's a car problem or a house repair, an unexpected health bill, the deacons try to be aware of those things and can authorize a check of a certain amount to be written from the church to help with those needs. So you don't necessarily get to be right there firsthand, but by giving to the offerings, you're part of that. Currently, the biggest check that the deacons can authorize is $350. We've thought about maybe making that a little bit bigger, because when you have a problem these days, $350 doesn't go as long as it used to go. But regardless, benevolence checks are one way that you are, as a church, helping people with practical needs. College care packages. The church also, as part of our benevolence ministry, often sends checks to help and encourage college students who are known once in a while to have financial difficulty. You ever heard of that? Poor, starving college students, right? Babysitting is a practical way to help other people in the church. Baby showers and wedding showers. I've seen members helping other members with car repairs and carpentry projects, giving rides to the doctor or to the grocery store or to the airport, lodging someone in your home, collating books and providing meals at teacher in-service, sending greeting cards, sympathy cards, birthday cards, all kinds of cards, sharing produce, corn on the cob, flowers, fruit, and desserts at church, giving away lawnmowers, appliances, and yes, even cars. Paying for a new roof for somebody who couldn't afford it, though they desperately needed it. House sitting, or dog sitting, or plant sitting. Taking flowers and balloons to encourage people, doing repairs on houses like painting, electrical work, plumbing, and tree work, installing new windows. All of those are real things that have happened. Moving people out of their house or into a house, delivering Christmas cookies, raking leaves is coming up, shoveling snow, we'll move on, bringing a coffee to them or donuts, loaning medical equipment. All of these are real things that you all have done, and it wasn't hard to think of them. Good job, church. That's not just nice, that's Christian. That should be typical. Well done. Keep up the good work. So let me say to all of you, keep on serving. And if you're hearing that list and saying, wow, those are neat, but I didn't do any of those, guess what? It's not too late. You can jump on board. All the cool people are doing it. A little positive peer pressure there. Isn't that what we're supposed to do? Provoke one another to good works? Well, he helped somebody. I can help somebody too, right? Oh, she was a blessing. I can be a blessing too. So keep on serving if you're serving. If you haven't yet, jump in. The water's fine. And then one other little admonition here, be willing to receive. Because if somebody's going to give, somebody has to receive. And so let me encourage you, when you have a need, don't be ashamed to let it be known. Okay, if you say, my car broke down, it doesn't mean necessarily we're going to go buy you a Porsche. I'm not sure that the, offerings would handle that. We may not be able to do everything we'd want to do, but if you don't share your need, we can't do anything, can we? And so I understand there's a point of privacy and humility and not wanting to say, oh, look at me, I'm needy. I understand that. But there is an appropriate way to say, help. Everybody practice. Ready? Put your hand up and just say, help. Oh, that was very cute. Nice job. It's okay to say help. You know what it admits? I'm weak. You know what it takes to admit that you're weak? Come on. What does it take to admit you're weak? Humility. And what do we need? Humility. If pride is one of the chief sins, humility must be one of the chief virtues. And when you admit that you need help, I'm lonely, I'm discouraged, I'm moving, I'm sick, I've been in the hospital, I'm hungry, a tree fell down, I've got a bad back, I broke my ankle, my lawnmower's not working, whatever. When you say help, that's okay. Let me just try to share some 3 practical ways that you can take steps towards being a minister with practical needs. As I say, I think as a church we're doing this, but if we want to continue and grow and increase, here's 3 ways to do it. First of all, prepare. If you're going to minister, you got to prepare. If you're going to serve, you got to be ready to serve. And I'll subdivide that and say there's 2 primary ways that you can prepare to serve. The first one is surrender. You've got to surrender your own plans, your own resources, your own energy, your comfort zone position. You got to give all that up because serving isn't comfortable. Serving isn't easy. Serving is costly. And so you got to surrender. I was thinking again of those Christians in Greece. 2 Corinthians 8:5 is the verse you can write down. 2 Corinthians 8:5. Paul says how the Christians that were up in Macedonia, probably Philippi, maybe Thessalonica or Berea, he asked them to give towards the saints in Jerusalem. And he says the saints in Macedonia, they were really, really, really poor. But the saints in Jerusalem were more really, 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 really poor. And so he said, we were amazed at how generous the Christians in Macedonia were. But he said this they did, not as we hoped, but first gave their own selves to the Lord and unto us by the will of God. The reason they gave when they were poor is because they gave themselves first. As long as you think your life is your own, I don't think you're going to help with practical needs very much. As long as you think this life is about accumulating some kind of empire, you're not going to be very generous. But when you realize that all that I am and all that I have is God's, then you're able to serve. All my time, all my energy, all my talents is God. My bank account, my savings account, my savings extra, this is a really bad day account. It's all God's. I need to be a good steward and wise, but it's all His. Right? You don't take the pie and divide it into circles and say, okay, this part's mine and that part's God's. He said they gave their own selves, and I got to ask, have you done that? Have you said, Lord, all that I am, or ever will be, is yours? Surrender, first of all, that's a way to prepare. And then save. Save some energy, save some time, and save some money so that you can be a help with others' practical needs. I'll have you turn to this one. We saw it Wednesday night. It's Ephesians chapter 4. Ephesians 4, please. It's the intersection of stewardship, Christian worldview, diligence, and generosity. Ephesians chapter 4, verse 28. If you are going to serve others, you have to prepare to serve them. There's way too many times when somebody says, well, I'd love to help, but I just can't. Well, why can't you? Because of decisions you already made. You already used up your time. You already committed your energy away, and you've already squandered your finances, and so you don't have anything to give. But it's not a way off the hook because you're reaping what you sowed previously, and the bad decisions you made then, the selfish decisions sometimes that you made then, are the reason that you're unable to help now. Do you understand? Now, the good news is there's recovery from this. Okay, so first of all, let's feel the weight of this, and then let's be encouraged that we can climb out. Ephesians chapter 4, verse 28 says, let him that stole steal no more. Okay, in case you wondered, side application, don't steal. All right. Let him that stole steal no more, but rather let him labor. So instead of stealing, what are you supposed to do? Work. Well, why should you work? So that he may have to give to him that needeth. It doesn't say work so that you can retire early, does it? It doesn't say work so that you can have a higher standard of living. It says work so that you can give. Sometimes people say, well, I don't have anything I can give. Yeah, because you're lazy. Sorry, I have no one in mind. That's why I can say it so coldly like that. I don't have anything that I can share. Well, yeah, that's because you wasted what you had. If you'd have been a little more cautious, a little bit more stewardship-minded, then you could help others. You're like, oh, well, God doesn't expect me to give because I have nothing to give. Well, why don't you have anything to give? See, there were some people in Ephesians 4 that were talked about that they couldn't help. They couldn't give. They were stealing just to meet their own needs. But he said, you can change, right? So if you're in that category and you're like, I have no time to help people. I'm too divested in so many hobbies and events and things that we're scheduled to and committed to, and you should see my calendar. Okay, well, guess what? You fulfill those commitments and then don't make new ones. And so that you have some margin in your life to be able to serve other people. Don't say, well, I can afford the payments on these, and so I'm going to go ahead and buy now and pay later. And then when a missionary comes through with a need, you can't help because I'm up to here in payments. And I'm maybe not going bankrupt, but I'm maxed out. Give yourself room to give. These people were stealing, and he says, okay, that's what you were, but now change and start working so that you have a surplus and you can give to others. That ought to be the goal, I think, of every Christian. We ought to be stewards enough that we can give to help others who are less fortunate. Now, obviously, there's going to be someone that's less fortunate that's the receiver. But don't you want to be the giver some of the times? If you will minister by meeting people's practical needs, you have to prepare. First of all, by surrendering. If you don't give yourself to God, you're not going to give him much else. And secondly, by saving. Being diligent, being a good planner, being frugal, denying yourself, not splurging on everything that you could, so that then, when there's a need, you can help. And can I tell you, ask anyone, what's more fun? To just devour it yourself or to secretly sneak somebody a gift that shocks them? It's so much more fun to give. It's almost as if it's more blessed to give than receive, you could say. Jesus did say. It is so much more blessed to give than to receive. I got to move on. If you would minister by helping with practical needs, you have to prepare. Number two, you have to perceive. You got to prepare and you got to perceive. I'm going to give you some verses back to back to back. Listen for the common note. If you're jotting down references, good for you. Matthew 8:14. When Jesus was come into Peter's house, he saw his wife's mother laid sick. Matthew 14:14. And Jesus went forth and saw a great multitude, and was moved compassion toward them, and healed their sick. Mark 10:14. But when Jesus saw it, he was much displeased, and said unto them, Suffer little children to come unto me. Luke 13:12. And when Jesus saw her, he called her to him, and said, Woman, thou art loosed from thine infirmity. John 9:1. And Jesus passed by, he saw a man which was blind from his birth. John 19:26. When Jesus therefore saw his mother and the disciples standing by whom he loved, he said unto his mother, Woman, behold thy son. What was the common thing? Jesus saw. He had his eyes open. And I wonder how many people walked the roads of Galilee and Judea and didn't see a thing. You mean there's a blind person over there? There's people that are sick? Oh, Peter's mom isn't feeling well? I mean, I've just been busy teaching all day. I'm the Messiah, and it's been a tough day. Now I go into the room to hopefully get some refreshment, and it's not going to be much because the mother of the house is, sick, so I guess it's, cheese and crackers or something. No, Jesus, she's sick? Let me help her. Are you aware? Do you perceive the needs of the people around you? Just looking around, you're like, everybody looks pretty good. Pff, don't you believe it. Do you know how many needs are represented in this room? A lot. A lot. If you would help with practical needs, you have to perceive. Do you know what prevents you from perceiving the needs of others? Looking at, you know this, looking at yourself. When you look at yourself, you don't see the needs of others. What percent of people do you think go through life living that way? I think it's the normal thing to do. But we ain't normal. We're Christians, right? And so just because people in the community, people in the workplace, they're always about me and mine, doesn't mean that we should be. We should be looking at others. Ooh, they must have had a hard day. Ooh, I wonder how that's affecting this. Oh, that's right. This is the 1-year anniversary of their whatever. Are you thinking about the needs of others, or are you only seeing your own? I'm going to read you a poem by Miriam Teichner. It was published in 1921. And I have to tell you that as I read this, I hear my father's voice reading this. I don't know how many times he read this in church. And in this case, I'm very glad for the repetition because it made an impression. I still remember it. And I'm kind of glad he's out preaching somewhere today so I can say this, that he lived this poem. And he's taught me about awareness. And I hope I'm growing in this area. And I think we all can. It's wonderfully worded. The poem is simply called Awareness. God, let me be aware. Let me not stumble blindly down the ways, just getting somehow safely through the days. Not even groping for another hand, not even wondering why it all was planned. Eyes to the ground, unseeking for the light, soul never aching for a wild-winged flight. Please, keep me eager just to do my share. Oh God, let me be aware. God, let me be aware. Stab my soul fiercely with others' pain. Let me walk, seeing horror and stain. Let my hands, groping, find other hands. Give me the heart that divines, understands. Give me the courage, wounded, to fight. Flood me with knowledge, drench me with light. Please, keep me eager to do my share. Oh God, let me be aware. People need the Lord. Some people need groceries. Some people need a ride. Some people need a babysitter. Some people need their lawn mowed. Some people need encouragement. They are everywhere. Are you aware? Jesus saw, Jesus saw, Jesus saw, Jesus saw. Where are your eyes? I've said, and I meant, I believe our church is doing a good job at ministering and meeting practical needs, but there's always room for improvement. Oh God, let me be aware. Let me give you a little quick help with this, because I think some people are gifted at this and some people are not. I think that's the nature of how the church body works. There are some people like, they know everything about everybody, and I don't mean they're busybodies. There are certain people that I depend on, and they like text me and call me like, Pastor Lee, did you hear about so-and-so? I'm like, no, I didn't know. Pastor Lee, did you know that this person had this? No, how did you? And they just know about people's needs. I'm so thankful for those ears that are out there. And then there's other people like, I had no idea. Something happened? Okay, if you're one of those people and you feel like, I'm just kind of clueless, my antenna don't work well, here's what you do, okay? Turn to Romans 16. I love these verses. If you struggle with perceiving, if you have that blindness, if you don't have the awareness, you might not learn it on your own, but somebody could mentor you in this. Somebody could teach it to you and pass it on. There was such a woman in Romans 16, and her name is Phoebe. All right, so great Bible names for if we have any baby girls born in the next few months. Phoebe, Tabitha, all these heroes, right? Romans 16:1. 16:1. I commend unto you Phoebe, our sister, which is a servant or minister of the church which is at Centuria. She was known as serving the whole church. That's impressive. Paul says, I want you to receive her in the Lord as becometh saints, and that ye assist her in whatsoever business she hath need of you. For she hath been a succorer of many, and of myself also. The relationships here. He says, hey guys, Phoebe's coming, help her out. Whatever she says, whatever business she's involved in, you get in the harness with her and you help Phoebe, because Phoebe encourages lots of people. She's even helped me. The idea is Phoebe is this person with hyper antenna. She probably has the gift of serving or administration, and she's aware of people's needs, and she knows how to meet them. She knows how to get resources, pull the project together, and make it happen. And he says, so the rest of you that aren't as good at it, just whatever Phoebe says, do that. Aren't you thankful for people like that? That just know. Okay, so if you say, man, I'm not aware, and that poem really convicted me, and I don't see the needs of others like Jesus saw. Okay, well, who in the church do you know that is always helping people? Don't answer out loud. Who do you know? Who helped you? Okay, start there and say, hey, next time there's a need, could you text me? I want to learn how to do this better. I want to labor together with you and serve others. Maybe you call the leader of a ministry and say, hey, is there anyone in your Treasure Seekers Club that needs a little extra something? Is there anyone in Sisters by Grace that's having an extra tough time? What can I do? If you don't know what to do, ask Phoebe. She's a succorer of many, an encourager of many. Okay, so you have to be prepared, and you have to be perceiving. You have to surrender yourself. You have to prepare by saving some time and some energy and some money to help others. And then you got to see the needs. And if you're not good at it, partner with somebody who is. Then the last thing is perhaps the hardest. You got to prepare, you got to perceive, and you got to perform. You got to perform. You know, serving others is no good at all when it's just an idea. You know, it crossed my mind that they could use. You know, I was wondering how they were doing. I thought about giving you know what all that means? Basically, nothing. As long as it's an idea, it's not helping nobody. You got to do it. Turn to 1 John, please, chapter 3. 1 John 3. We're talking about the fact that helping with practical needs is something that you just got to do. Not think about, talk about, plan about. Do it. 1 John 3:16. 1 John 3:16. Hereby perceive we the love of God, because He laid down His life for us. And we ought to lay down our lives for the brethren. Talk about being a servant. Just lay your life down. All my time, all my energy, it's all yours. And he talks about it, verse 17. Whoso hath this world's goods. By the way, that's all of us. You all have this world's goods, don't you? I have more shoes than I need. I have more tools than I need. I have more food than I need. Whoso hath this world's good, and seeth his brother have need, and shutteth up his bowels of compassion from him, how dwelleth the love of God in him? If you've got it and they need it, and you're like, mine. How is that the love of God in you? My little children, let us not love in word, neither in tongue, but in deed and in truth. Boy, I hope that works out for you, brother. Ooh, that's too bad. I'm so sorry. Well, that's something. That's a start. That's compassion. But compassion usually is attached to action. And so let us not love in word, neither in deed, but in truth. Or not just in word, but in deed, in action, in performance. That passage we talked about, 2 Corinthians 8, where Paul is bragging on the Macedonian Christians and how though they were poor, they gave to the Jewish Christians. He's using that as a little bit of a poke to the Christians in Achaia. That's southern Greece, like Corinth and Athens area. And he's like, you guys actually have more money than the Christians in Macedonia, but they've already given their money, and you guys have just talked about it. Now, he was tactful but confrontational. He said, I'm sending you this message so that when I get there, I'm not embarrassed and you're not embarrassed because the money is ready and waiting to go to Jerusalem. And in that setting, he says to them, and herein I give my advice. For this is expedient for you who have begun before, not only to do, but also to be forward a year ago. Now, therefore, perform the doing of it. That there was a readiness to will, so there may be a performance also out of that which ye have. He said, you were ready. At least you said you were. He said, oh, yeah, we'll give to those poor Christians. We'll help them out. And Paul's, I can just see him sitting there. When? When are you going to help them out? How much? Where's the money? He says, you got to do it. You had a ready mind, but you got to carry it out. You all have experienced this. I experienced this. We have a good idea. I'm going to help this out. I'm going to do that. And then we don't do it. Notice that phrase, listen as I was reading to it. He says, perform the doing of it. And I couldn't help it. It reminded me of the Nike slogan, right? Just do it. Just perform it. Don't just think about it. Do it. Sometimes we get cold feet, don't we? Oh, I'm going to serve this person. No, I can't do that. It'll cost too much. No, if I help them, they might ask for help again. And if I do it for them, I might have to do it for everybody. If I give this away, I might not have enough for myself. Hold on. Do we trust God or don't we? Do you really think that when you give of your time or your talent to someone else, you're not going to have enough for your needs? Do you really think God's going to let your life be ruined because you helped people? We get cold feet, afraid of what it will cost us, the time, maybe getting out of our comfort zone or the money involved. Let me encourage you to step out on faith and just minister. Just give it. Just make it. Just mail it. Just fix it. Just bake it. Just share it. Just lift it. Just drive it. Just do it. Just minister. Perform the thing that God touched your heart about. So, you got to prepare. Surrender your heart. Save up some resources. Don't book your calendar so full. And then you got to perceive who needs help today. And then you got to perform. God invented the minister so that we can help each other in practical ways. It's God's calling for all of us, not just somebody who's an ordained clergy. We're all ministers. Are you carrying out your calling? Are you helping in practical ways? Father, I thank you that Jesus came to serve us. Please help us to serve others, to lay down our life as we ought to. Convict us, Lord. We can't all do everything, but we can all do something. So would you show us what we can do? Help us not to get a false guilt about something that we can't help with, but help us to have the gumption to do what we can help with, each according to the ability that you give us. Lord, we love you. Thank you for using us, equipping us, and giving us something to do. Guide us, we pray, in Jesus' name. Amen.